Welcome, Ukraine War Update today. Ukraine's military says 131,290 Russian military personnel have been killed in Ukraine since Russia invaded the country on February 24 last year. In its regular update on February, the Ukrainian General Staff claimed that 700 Russian soldiers were killed just over the past day. The regular update, which is often higher than Western estimates, also said Russia had lost 3,220 tanks, 6,405 armored vehicles, and 2,226 artillery systems since the war began. Citing U.S. and other Western officials, the New York Times reported earlier this month that the number of Russian troops killed and wounded in Ukraine was approaching 200,000 in total. Heavy fighting was underway on February 5 in the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut in the eastern region of Donetsk, according to Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Russia's Wagner mercenary group. In the northern quarters of Bakhmut, fierce battles are going on for every street, every house, every stairwell, Prigozhin said on Telegram, adding that Ukrainian forces were not retreating. The Ukrainian armed forces are fighting to the last, he said. Bakhmut has been virtually razed by repeated Russian artillery bombardments as Moscow has been trying to seize control of the city for months. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on February 3 that Ukrainian forces would fight for Bakhmut as long as we can. The British Defense Ministry said that over the last week, Russia has continued to make small advances in its attempt to encircle Bakhmut. The M03 and the H32, the two main roads into the city for Ukrainian defenders, are likely now both threatened by direct fire, following the Russian advances, it said in its regular update on February 5. In the neighboring Luhansk region, Ukrainian forces remained in control of the village of Bilohorivka, the regional governor said, rejecting claims by some Russian-installed officials that the village was captured by the Russian army. Our troops remain in their positions. Nobody has captured Bilohorivka, nobody has entered there, there is no enemy there, Serhiy Haidai told the Ukrainian national broadcaster. He said the situation was tense, as the number of Russian attacks has increased, but he added that all of the attacks have been repulsed by Ukrainian troops. 3 people were wounded on February 5 by 2 Russian missiles in the northeastern city of Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, according to local officials. Kharkiv Governor Ola Synhubov said the missiles hit a residential building in the city center. The claims cannot be independently verified. In Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz again rejected concerns that Berlin's recent decision to supply Ukraine with its Leopard tanks could make Germany an active party to the conflict with Russia. We have carefully weighed every arms shipment to Ukraine, coordinated them closely with our allies, first and foremost with the United States, Scholz told Germany's Bild am Sonntag, in comments seen by DPA ahead of publication on February 5. This joint approach prevents an escalation of the war, said the German Chancellor, who has faced much criticism over his initial reluctance to send the Leopards. Scholz also said that Russian President Vladimir Putin in his telephone conversations has not made any threats against me or Germany. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson earlier this week said Putin had threatened him with a missile strike that would only take a minute. The Kremlin said Johnson was lying. Scholz said the conversations he had with Putin made it clear they had very different views of the war in Ukraine. I make it very clear to Putin that Russia has sole responsibility for the war, Scholz said. Meanwhile, a former Israeli prime minister who served briefly as a mediator at the start of Russia's war with Ukraine has said he drew a promise from the Russian president not to kill his Ukrainian counterpart.